All right, so here's our apartment anarchy case B analysis and role play. So my personal analysis of it is that something needs to be addressed with Mark specifically. Things need to crack down because if he keeps breaking the honor code, it's things that Ben can't handle, and if he's committing greater sin that we can't see, which seems like very possible with how defensive he was towards Ben in their last encounter. And so things might be kind of getting out of hand for Ben to handle. My thoughts are that Ben go to his bishop, seek counsel from his bishop, follow that counsel, and if that counsel doesn't work, then he can maybe see if the bishop can come to Mark and talk to Mark before they turn him into the honor code office or before they call his mom. And possibly Ben should tell Mark what he's going to do, that he's going to let the bishop know that he's going to, that he lets Mark know that he's going to tell the bishop so that Mark's not caught off guard when the bishop wants to meet with him and knows about all the rules he's been breaking. Also, I think Ben needs to talk with the other two roommates, and they need to try and possibly plan some apartment activities, some things they can do to get Mark away from the other two marauders. So yeah, that's just some of my thoughts.
Cool. My analysis of the reading during Mark and Ben's little exchange, I think it was good for Ben to kind of, initiate the talk, but at the same time, it might not have been the best time to do it because they were studying. But I also feel like that was probably the only time when Ben and Mark were in the same room together, and Ben could have said anything to Mark. And so I feel like Ben did the right thing in saying to Mark, hey, I feel like we're a little off track, and I would like to, better our relationship. But I feel like Mark's reaction to it and saying that our relationship is fine and you don't need to worry about it, it kind of left me thinking that Mark doesn't really care anymore about their relationship, and he just wants to get out of it as quickly as possible. And so I agree with Braxton and what he was saying about how going to the bishop would probably be a good idea, maybe getting some counsel from him, and for sure letting Mark know what's going on, and letting Mark know that he's going to do this, so that way it's not just a big surprise to Mark, and that Mark would then just hate Ben. And so I feel like if Ben goes to him and says, hey, I really feel like my only really next option is to go to the bishop, tell Mark that, then maybe Mark would come to the realization that maybe I do really need to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in his own life, and that way he could open up to Ben a little bit, and Ben could get to an understanding of Mark and not have to go to the bishop per se. But that's just kind of my thoughts.
So my thoughts kind of go along with those two, and I think that since Ben came to Mark and asked if he could be, in what ways he could be a better friend, he was being completely open with him. And so by Mark turning him down, I feel like that has become a secondary problem since Mark has no interest in becoming better friends, at least at this moment. And so the next best option would probably be to go to the bishop and to discuss what decision to make and discuss the situation further and get counsel.
Something to add on that I just remembered. It did mention how Mark seemed to be softened for just a little bit. So I think there is hope for Mark to still change before we just have him get kicked out of school.
Right.
So as far as roleplay, should we roleplay like him going to the bishop or?
Well, but with 30 minutes, not really, but with 30 minutes to talk about it, probably you can do
a few things.
The bishop and then the Mark thing.
Okay. So do we want to do Ben talking to bishop, Ben talking to Mark, or like Ben talking to bishop and then bishop talking to Mark, or all three?
We can probably do
all three. Okay.
I mean, they'll have to be very long discussions. But something I think that is kind of not prevalent, but something that is relevant is hopefully when, should we go to Bishop first or should we go to Mark first and say, hey, I want to go talk to Bishop?
Let's do talk to Mark first.
You want to talk to Mark first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think if we talk to Mark first and say, hey, I'm going to go to the bishop. If we can't resolve this ourselves, I think that will kind of give, Mark kind of a wake-up call and say, oh, crap,
Yeah.
And then he might then have that softening of heart, or he might harden his heart, one of the two. But he might soften his heart and say, okay, well, this is what's going on. And then if it doesn't resolve there, then he goes, okay, well, then I really want to go to the bishop so this can be resolved.
Sounds good. So here, real quick, for the role play.
Okay.
It says that we basically just counsel Ben on his problems.
So we're going to counsel Ben?
Yeah.
Or we're going to counsel Ben? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So
okay.
Instead of like being bishop, I guess it wants us to be
You're
counselors to Ben.
Well, how are we going to counsel Ben? What do you mean?
So we just kind of act like the bishop, I guess, in the situation.
Yeah, so pretend like Ben, because Ben doesn't know all the things we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben comes to us blind and we kind of help him understand like where we're seeing things, I guess.
So where the bishop is seeing things, that's what we're going to explain?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like that would be the best course.
Well, so what does the bishop, what would he counsel Ben to do?
Just kind of like what we talked about, saying, well, I mean, when we did, we just kind of made it up on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think we talked to Ben, and so if you're pretending to be Ben, right, and you come to us, like you are just seeing like your side of the story and not like the analysis or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about like maybe things that you need to work on personally as Ben, like what Ben's not seeing as far as what Mark might be feeling about the situation, and then talk about an action plan that maybe could work. But I don't know if we should even be like bishop, just like counselors, so we can be like, hey, look, maybe going to talk to your bishop and like doing this.
That's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who wants to be Ben?
Do you want to start as Ben, and then we can counsel, and then we can switch off a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
We still have like 25 minutes.
Okay, so.
25, okay. So you're the bishop and you're his counselor?
We should be just like the Elsprom president and the Elsprom president's counselor, I guess.
Okay.
So, Ben, you wanted to meet with us today and talk about some things?
Yeah, just wanted to. I'm having trouble with one of my roommates, and he's breaking the honor code. What he's doing is he's just bringing girls into the apartment after curfew, and I'm kind of worried about what could be happening outside of that. And then I've tried to become better friends with him, but he doesn't. At this time, I don't feel like he's interested in becoming better friends or anything like that.
If you don't mind me asking, which roommate is it?
It's Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him.
And he's your roommate, right? Not just one of your apartments, but your roommate.
Yeah, my roommate. We actually lived. We've been friends since high school. But we didn't hang out a lot in high school.
Okay. So you just kind of like knew each other,
Mm-hmm.
kind of.
Yeah, and then in our senior year, he asked if I wanted to room with him.
Okay. Cool.
Have you seen him at church at all? Either of you?
I haven't.
Does he come to church really? I haven't seen him.
I don't know, the role play didn't say that, so I didn't want to like say yes or no.
In the part A, he says that he doesn't come to church.
He doesn't? Okay, so no, I haven't seen that church.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I guess in high school, did he act like this?
He kind of partied in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were in the same state, so we weren't in the same ward particularly, so I don't know whether he came to church in our home ward.
Okay.
Home stake.
Do you feel like maybe he's doing it on purpose? Because I think I know his other two roommates. They go out of town all the time. But do you think he's not coming to church on purpose, or is it just that it just kind of happens?
I think it's more intentional.
Okay. Do you know maybe why?
No.
How do you feel like? I know it sounds like maybe Mark isn't feeling like super close to you right now as a friend. Do you consider him a friend right now, or?
Um, I want to consider him a better friend. I think I consider him a friend, but I don't consider him like a close friend or anything.
Is that something that you really want to change? Not just to, get the honor code off your back, but to actually, be his friend and be his, good friend to him?
Yeah, I want to be a good friend to him. Of course, I'm worried about the honor code office as well.
Okay. Have you tried maybe talking to him? I know you said you talked a little bit to him. Can you describe the situation, like what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
So we were both in our room. We were both studying, and I just asked him if he that I just told him that I'd like to have a better relationship with him, and he kind of seemed like shocked for a moment, and then said, "No, it's fine." And our relationship was fine. And I asked him if I could do anything for him. He's like, "No, really, it's fine. I have a lot to do," and that's it.
Okay.
Do you feel like he has any desire, like when you were talking to him about him, do you feel like you saw any desire for him to want to fix things at all, or do you think he's like, do you feel like he really loves what he's doing right now, or is he just kind of caught up in things with the other two roommates?
So you're asking if he has any desire to change?
Yeah.
I think there, like, for a moment when we were talking, like, he did have like this momentary, like, I felt like he softened his heart a little bit, but I think he's very caught up with his roommates too. I think there's, I think he's more caught up with his roommates, but I think he does have a little bit of desire to change. Okay.
Well, I mean, we can work with that though. I mean, even if he has that little particle of faith, like Emma talks about, whatever. But even if he has that little bit of a desire to change, I think we can work with that, and hopefully we can come to a better resolution than just, kind of throw him under the bus and try and get him kicked out of school or whatever else. I think he really is maybe having some difficulties that maybe we just aren't really aware of. I know that's something that we've struggled with to kind of discern the hearts and minds of people around us. And I feel like maybe Mark is going through something really tough right now, and we just don't know about it maybe. And I don't want to pressure you to pressure him, I'm trying to have him divulge that stuff to you. But we need to maybe figure out a way to talk to Mark and get him to open up to you a little bit about those things that are happening.
How can I do that?
You haven't served a mission, have you, Ben? Yet?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Okay. So one thing you'll learn on your mission, it talks about this in Preach My Gospel, is so when you're teaching an investigator, it talks about how you need to know how the investigator needs to feel to work, to progress in the gospel, how the missionary needs to feel, and how the members need to feel. And so I think we need to think about for a minute, in this situation, how do you need to feel towards Mark and about the situation to be able to help Mark? And then how does Mark need to feel when you talk to him to actually take what you say and want to change, or whoever does talk to him? So I think that's important, because if he feels threatened, or he feels like you're just tattling on him or coming down on him, he's not going to want to change. And so I think that's an important place to start. But
yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So for you, Ben, what do you think you need to feel personally towards Mark in this situation to be able to help him out?
Well, I mean, I know what other people might say. They'd say charitable. I guess. What does that mean? To feel charitable.
For me on the mission, it was really hard to feel a lot of charity for my companions sometimes, because we didn't get along, kind of what your situation is with Mark. But the whole charity thing is really need to have that love for that person and have the right attitude towards that person. You can't. For me, it wasn't. I didn't want them to follow rules just to follow rules. I wanted them to follow rules so that we could have the Spirit with us, so that we could work better as a companionship.
So having the right intention behind it.
Right. And so it wasn't just, I want him to do this because it's the right thing to do. It's to do it because I love him, because I want him to feel that spirit that I feel whenever I'm, keeping the commandments.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe something that you can think about maybe, and how, Braxton was saying, how you can feel that charity that you were talking about for him.
Yeah. And another thing just that came to mind, we're in actually a similar class up at school, and our teacher told us that motive is everything. And so your motives in what you want from Mark really determines a lot. If you just want to help Mark because it's going to help you, like, he's not going to want to change. But if you truly want to help him, then the Spirit's going to be there if you care about him and his salvation. Because this is bigger than just him getting kicked out of school or having peace in the apartment. This could deal with his salvation. So that's a huge thing. But how do you think Mark's going to need to feel?
Mark's going to need to feel like I'm concerned about him and where he's going, like you said, like his salvation and things like that. And so I think if he may not be, although I may feel like that, I hope he, I don't know, never mind.
No, I think that's great what you said. I think he needs to know and feel that you love him, and that if you can demonstrate that love for him in that right way, I think he'll really come to see that you're not just there to tattle him, but you really do care about him, and that will really soften his heart. I know when you were talking to him last time, you said that there was a little glimpse almost of him softening his heart, and so I think if he feels that love again that you have for him, I think that will definitely help out a lot in the situation. Definitely make him feel that he can trust you and that he can open up to you.
Okay.
So let's talk about some things that you could talk to Mark, or like what you could say to him in this situation to be able to help him out. So when I say that, what are some of the first thoughts that come to your mind of how you'd approach this?
I don't even know. Can I think for a second?
Yeah, no, totally.
So what you're asking is, how would I help him to feel that I'm concerned?
How could you approach him?
Yeah.
How would I approach him
Right.
to do what?
How could you approach him and that he could still feel that you love him? Like, what are some ways you think that you could start a conversation with him and maybe him, still have that feeling that you love him with him?
I probably at this moment I wouldn't bring up like the honor code, because then he'd feel like I'm more concerned about the honor code than him. But then if I just ask him how he's doing, and then he just says great, then I'd probably be like, well, how's school, or how's how was your trip last weekend, or stuff like that. Just, like, try to build off of whatever.
Right. Start a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see where it goes. I probably beyond that I wouldn't know what else to do. I would probably start with that.
Okay. Something that's kind of popped in my head was maybe let him know that his mom is calling you about him. Say, hey, your mom's calling about you, and so I just want to be able to, tell her how you're doing. But I think she really is concerned about you. She loves you, and so I feel like maybe if you could say something along those lines, that could maybe help him out a lot. Not saying like your mom's calling about me to see what you're doing at night or whatever, but saying, hey, your mom's just calling, just wondering how you're doing, and I want to be able to answer. So maybe that could be a way to talk to him in a civil manner and get a good conversation out of him, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
And to another thought, really, have you talked to him about kind of how he felt about the relationship and if this is what he had hoped for and if everything was okay? But have you told him how you had hoped the semester would have gone, or how you wanted your friendship to be? Okay. So maybe he's thinking kind of similar feelings that vibes he's getting from you. Like maybe he thinks that you haven't been super friendly to him or super outgoing and trying to invite him to activities. And I know it's tough when you first move into something. Move in with someone. You don't want to really rock the boat, so you're careful about what you say and what you do. But I think it would be important for you to let him know that you had really hoped that you'd be friends, that you could do things together, and kind of help each other throughout this first semester.
So that would help them feel like I care about their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So you think I should do that first? Like I should tell him that I had hoped that we could be better friends, and then eventually ask him how he's doing, how his activities are going.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing to kind of point out, say, hey, Mark, I feel like with our conversation last time, you said our friendship was okay and whatever else, but you can say, well, while you said that our relationship is okay, I kind of felt like at the beginning of the semester we could have had maybe a little bit stronger of a relationship because we don't really hang out that much, we don't really do too much together. But I would like to change that, and I would like to be a better friend to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you said that everything's going well and we're okay, but from my perspective, I don't feel that way necessarily. Maybe that could be something you could talk to him about, maybe, and have him kind of do a little bit of self-reflection and see into himself a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds like really good advice.
Okay.
Definitely do that.
Okay, let's pause real quick. Okay, so I think that was pretty good. Anything we could have changed in our counseling that would have made it better?
I mean, there's always the counsel of, going and talking to your bishop and that kind of stuff, but I think that should be like the last resort.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if Ben goes to Mark and says, hey, I'm going to go talk to the bishop, I think it's kind of like, going to be pointing the finger at him saying, hey, shape up or I'm going to go tattle, And so I don't necessarily want to give that advice because I know that if I was in the situation, I would feel very threatened in that situation. Yeah. And so I don't think we should have. I think we did good in not telling Ben to do that. And I also feel like if we do end up giving him that counsel eventually, that should be a last resort at all costs. Don't do it kind of counsel.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Going to the bishop would kind of be would feel threatening.
Right. I feel that would be like the high cost, high reward possibility of the situation.
I could see that backfiring.
For sure, yeah. So I feel like that could be something if Ben does decide to come back to us again, that we can maybe tell him. But as far as what we just did, I think we did pretty dang good.
Okay. We still have 8 more minutes, so let's try role playing. If Ben came back, he went and did that and it didn't work,
okay,
and he's like, okay, now what?
Do you want to switch places or?
Yeah,
what?
let's do that.
Okay.
I was Ben last time, so if you want to be Ben.
Okay. Cool with that.
I was like, do you want to switch?
That doesn't matter. We're good.
Don't fall.
Feel like we're having a district meeting.
That's kind of how I felt when I was
the
talking
District
to you
3.
Yep. Numero trace. Anyway.
Okay. You're Ben, yeah.
Yep.
So Ben, you want to meet with us again? Things going all right?
Yeah. So I took your advice, and I went to Mark and kind of talked to him. I mean, at first it was a pretty good conversation. I just talked to him about how he's doing, and we had a good little conversation about how his day went, how his week's going, and how his semester's going. And then I kind of led into, his mom's calling me, asking about him.
Mm.
And so I kind of told him that, I just don't know if you're talking to your mom or not, but she's calling me to ask about you. And so I just don't know what to tell her, and I don't know what to say to her. He kind of, blew up and said, well, don't tell my mom I'm doing bad things, and he got kind of defensive about it. And I don't know what to do because I feel like I just made the situation just even more worse than it was, and I felt it was bad as it was.
Okay. Well, way to go on going to talk to him. We're really glad you did that. I'm sure it took some courage. But how did did you, right when you told him his mom was calling, did he look concerned or anything?
Yeah.
Okay. And then before you talked about his mom calling, you just asked him how his day was. Was he pretty friendly towards you?
Yeah, I mean, he was all right with just talking, just regularly about his day and his week and semester, whatever else with me. He was pretty civil about it, pretty friendly.
Well, I'm kind of worried. Hopefully that there's nothing more serious going on in his life. If he's staying out late all the time, skipping church and class, they're probably up to something.
Right.
not that good. So
And that's how I felt whenever I'd say, your mom's calling me, his eyes kind of went wide, and he got really defensive. So I feel like, he's trying to hide something from her. And she's trying to find out what it is.
okay.
And so I feel like there's definitely something going on.
It's interesting that she knows. But if it is something serious, it's not something like really all of us can handle. And I think Bishop, he holds the keys over Mark, and so he definitely will have the best guidance from the Spirit to know how to help him. But that's really like a sensitive thing, just like tattling to Bishop, I
Right.
can say. So I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts about trying to go to Bishop? I don't know how you feel about it or any advice you might have.
I think you're right that Mark could be doing something more, and so the bishop would be a good person to go to.
Right. I don't know. It's already a really difficult situation. I just feel like if I tell Mark I'm going to go to Bishop, I feel like I'm leaving with an ultimatum, And I feel like it could either be really good for us, and Bishop come and help us out, or I feel like Mark could just get really, really offensive and really, defensive at the same time, and not really want to talk to him or me again. And so I'm kind of reluctant and trepidatious to go and talk to Bishop about it. But I mean, if I have to, I have to.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have that conversation about how you wanted to have like a better relationship?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
And how did it turn out?
He agreed that it could be better, but he said, at the same time, I feel like it's all right where it's at. But I mean, he just said, if you want to do anything different, just do stuff different, I guess. He didn't really have too much input on it.
Okay, so he seemed indifferent?
Yeah, he felt like, it could be a good idea, but he didn't necessarily want to put the effort into making it better.
Okay. I don't know if he doesn't really feel like he wants to put in the effort, then I don't know like what to do about your friendship with Mark. So, it might be better just I don't know, Bishop might be a good option too.
Right.
Yeah. I'd say that, and I'd say, when you do go talk to Bishop, tell Bishop how you feel about the situation. Say, like, you don't want to drive him away and you want to help him, and so talk to Bishop about maybe ways that you could handle it sensitively. Also, tell Mark you're going to go talk to Bishop.
You think I should tell him before I go to Mark? Before I go to Bishop?
Yeah. I don't know. How would you feel if, like, someone just went tattled on you versus if they were like, hey, man, like, things are out of hand and I have to do something about it?
I don't know. I feel like if it was me in the situation, I feel like it could be a really good thing. It would kind of give me that one step before the edge to say, okay, well, what am I really doing? Or, depending on how they came to me, then I'd get really upset about it. So I think it's just the way that I present it to Mark.
Okay.
Do you think it would be like how would you think it would be the best to tell him that you're gonna go to Bishop?
I don't know. Just saying, I love you and I want to help you, but I've tried the past couple of weeks to do what I can, but I don't feel like I'm a very effective, helping tool. So I feel like the best option for me is to go to the Bishop and kind of get counsel from him. And so I felt like I feel like it's my not duty, but my obligation to tell you that I'm going to the Bishop to talk about us, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of seeing how he reacts, I guess. But I feel like I just got to make sure that he knows that I'm not going to tattle on him, that I'm going to the Bishop to say, hey, we need help. Not just, Mark's breaking rules, but that I need help with Mark to help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mark needs to feel that as well. When you talk to Mark and say, hey, I'm going to talk to Bishop, he needs to feel that you're not doing it just because he's breaking rules, but because you care about him. You want the best for him. And that's a hard thing to do for him to feel that, because he's going to get defensive.
Right.
And he's not going to want you to tell Bishop. But and I think this is something I felt to overlook when we talked to you before, Ben, but talk to Heavenly Father about it. Ask him for help, because he knows Mark's heart. He knows what Mark needs. And so he's going to be able to help you out more than anyone else. So definitely counsel with him, I think, even before you go talk to Bishop. But
okay,
I'm thinking that's the route you need to take.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I think that could have the best effect on Mark in the situation altogether. Cut.
All right, so I think that went pretty well. Anything that we could have changed or done better?
Nothing. That's pretty good. I liked it.
I think in the way that like for approaching Mark could be like it might be confrontive the way we had it.
Yeah.
Like I felt like maybe we could have gone to Mark and just said, "Hey, I'm really concerned about all these rules being broken," and and so I don't really know how to phrase it. What do you
Right.
guys think?
I just feel like if we came to him and said, "Hey, you're breaking rules and we're concerned about it," I think that he could say, he could just feel really defensive about the whole rule breaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just feel like if we just go to Mark and say, "Hey, we're concerned about you, and I don't know how I can help you,"
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like the next best person that can help me help you is the bishop.
Okay.
And so if I go to bishop, I don't want it to be a complete surprise to you if he comes and talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the next best thing for me to do, because I have no clue what I can do, is go talk to Bishop and see what he has for me, for us.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of hard to approach Mark in any way without it coming off.
Right. I agree.
Like, he's going to be defensive either way. You say hi to him, it sounds like he snaps. So
Right.
maybe we just go a little way of some butt whooping on him.
Well, see, and
Keep him
that's
in shape.
see, and my personally with my situation in my life, like I would just straight up say, Mark, I'm going to the bishop because one, you're breaking rules, and two, I want to help you out, but I just don't know how to help you. So I'm going to bishop, and I just kind of laid down the law. But I feel like Ben's not a laying down the law kind of a guy.
No, he doesn't seem
And
like
so I feel
it.
like he's a little bit more of a passive aggressive kind of a person. And so I feel like this would be the best situation for him to approach Ben or Mark with.
Yeah. Been playing any softer than like as he has been.
Yeah, he's been tiptoeing around pretty much the whole time, and I feel like this is a little bit more not tiptoeing, but at the same time still just a tad bit.
All right. Well,
Cool.
that's our role play.
That's for you.
Hopefully it's good.